Welcome back to Inside Ambition. I'm one of your hosts, Gabrielle Remo, and thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Foresight 2020, a political segment where we discuss all things presidential election up until November 3rd. The segment, unlike the political world, is winding down. We're cutting it extremely close to the finale. When I am filming this, we are just 12 days away from Election Day. I am trying to squeeze in the most important elements leading up to this election while I can. This week's episode is all about the separate town halls held by former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald Trump. Let's get into it. If you're not particularly up to date on politics, you may be thinking to yourself, what are town halls? What happened to the second debate? Doesn't Trump still have COVID? What's an election? A concerning question, but not far-fetched. There is a clear need for civic education in the United States, and we should be prioritizing it, but I digress. Let's start with the functions of a town hall debate. A town hall stands in the place of a conventional debate. A standard debate has a moderator asking questions decided by the debate commission. This is contrasted by the town hall format, in which candidates will answer questions posed not by journalist moderators, but by voters in the auditorium and online. Town halls are particularly unique because while standard questions along the lines of military, the economy, healthcare get touched on, this format allows voters to speak directly with the candidates and to touch on issues that are personally affecting them. Candidates are allowed to roam the stage as they please, which permits them to engage with the audience, the moderator, and their opponent. Every move and mannerism is magnified, and that can prove beneficial to some candidates and to others not. Overall, a town hall is a great mix of getting the voters involved and gauging the policies of your two presidential candidates. So, why particularly was the town hall debate between Vice President Joe Biden and President Trump odd? Simply because there was no debate, at least not on the same channel. After Trump was infected with the coronavirus following the first presidential debate, the debate committee decided to hold a virtual debate. Trump declined to participate in a virtual second presidential debate, stating to Fox Business that he was not going to waste his time. Biden agreed to participate in a virtual debate, but in lieu of one, hosted a town hall on ABC. Trump decided to host his own town hall on NBC at the same time as Biden's town hall, leaving American voters split on who to watch. So, if you're following, ABC hosted Biden, NBC hosted Trump, and CBS hosted Big Brother. The NBC event was moderated by Savannah Guthrie. Trump received questions from both Guthrie and the audience, as well as being fact-checked live by Guthrie, which definitely was interesting. A few statements claimed by Trump were fact-checked on the spot. For example, he claimed that the CDC reported that 85% of all people who wear a mask catch COVID-19, to which Guthrie corrected the president by stating that the CDC conducted a survey of 150 COVID patients, in which 85% said that they have worn a mask. Remaining on the note of COVID-19, President Trump talked about his experience with the disease and how he has no remaining symptoms after leaving the Walter Reed Medical Center in early October. Guthrie also pressed the question on whether or not Trump had been tested on the night of the first presidential debate. The question was followed by the response of, I don't know, probably, and a few other estimates. Overall, he just did not give a straight answer. Finally, Trump remarked that America is rounding the corner on the COVID-19 pandemic, which sparked major controversy given COVID cases are on the rise. There were many interesting points during the town hall, but one that particularly caught my eye was that on the topic of QAnon. Guthrie pressed Trump on his possible relationship with the QAnon community. The following information can be a lot to process and follow, so buckle up and lean in. For those who are unaware, QAnon is a far-right conspiracy theory claiming that a group of Satan-worshipping pedophiles are running a global child sex trafficking ring, and that Donald Trump is battling to end and expose all of the members. The group is represented by a man under the pseudonym Q, who consistently leaks out information to the public through the political message board on 4chan. 4chan is an image-based bulletin board website where anyone can post, comment, and share anonymously, completely masked behind a screen. Now, there is no proof on the validity of the evidence that Q has released, and many of the claims that Q has prophesied did not come true. The rise of the QAnon following can be attributed to Facebook and to an extent YouTube, hosting QAnon conspiracies through promoting their videos and articles through their algorithms. The FBI has warned that fringe conspiracy theories like QAnon pose a domestic terrorism threat. And Trump is at the forefront of these conspiracies, given the group believes that he's the only man who can stop the Satan-worshipping pedophiles. It's only expected that it would be brought up eventually. He also has retweeted and mentioned QAnon on his Twitter account, though he claimed to have not known anything about it during the town hall. However, he describes it as follows: "I know nothing about it. I do know that they are very much against pedophilia. I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left." A final major point to mention about Trump's town hall was on the topic of his debts. Prior to the town hall, President Trump called the New York Times investigation into his finances fake news. And when the topic was explored again during this event, that changed. It was a long exchange, but Guthrie asked Trump if he owes money, and if so, about how much he owes to creditors. Trump agreed, more or less, with the fact that he does owe money to creditors, in fact, more than $400 million. Trump claimed that, in comparison to his wealth and his net worth, including his properties, that amount was just a peanut and not a big deal. And there is no smooth transition from this one, so let's jump right into Biden's ABC town hall. Biden's town hall was moderated by ABC's own anchor, George Stephanopoulos. There were a few key takeaways from Biden's town hall. The first issue has been a topic of concern in Biden's campaign, as it's a question he has dodged in the past. It is one that his running mate, Kamala Harris, has also deflected. That subject is packing the courts. So, if you're wondering what that means, it stems from the Judicial Procedures Reform Bill of 1937, frequently referred to as the court packing plan. It was a legislative initiative proposed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt to add more justices to the Supreme Court in order to obtain favor in his New Deal policies. Simply put, the concept is virtually the same now, and it has been discussed as a way Democrats might counteract a conservative majority on the court, given they might win back the Senate and the White House through the 2020 election. Packing the court is a very controversial topic. It can be seen as an aggressive strategy to win back some balance in the judicial branch because it changes the makeup of the seats. Packing the court is a very controversial topic. It can be seen as an aggressive strategy to win back some balance in the judicial branch because it changes the makeup of the seats. Supporters say that the Supreme Court, especially now, is politically partisan and ideologically imbalanced. Those in favor would support adding justices to ensure that the rulings of the court never solely reflect on one party's political agenda. Now, those opposed could say that court packing will increase political interference to an independent branch of government. It could allow presidents to add justices for political reasons and have the ability to do so as they please. While there is no historical precedent or law that prohibits more than 9 Supreme Court justices, historical precedent strongly supports a 9-judge Supreme Court. So, time traveling back to when I was discussing the town hall for Biden claimed that he is not a fan of packing the court, and the conclusion was drawn that his final decision would depend on how confirming Amy Coney Barrett into the Supreme Court is handled. To add, Biden did say that the voters have the right to know before they vote about his position on packing the court, but did not say when he was going to answer. This is in contrast to a statement that he made during a campaign stop on October 8, when he stated, "You'll know my opinion on court packing when the election is over." So that's that on that. Another key point from Biden's town hall was his history with crime and race. First and foremost, a black voter reminded the vice president of the time that he was on The Breakfast Club, a radio show where he stated, "You ain't black," referring to black voters not being black if they don't vote for Biden. This remark is one Biden apologized for. It put him in a lot of hot water. During this portion, Biden also distanced himself from his part in the 1994 Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, which is sometimes referred to as the Biden Crime Law, the largest crime bill in the history of the United States that provided 100,000 new police officers and $9.7 billion in funding for prisons and started the shift towards mass incarceration. Biden said during the town hall that some elements of the 1994 bill were a mistake, but later a member of the Biden campaign, Steph Feldman, took to Twitter to clarify that Biden was speaking of the 1986 crime bill instead. So let's differentiate the two bills. The 1994 bill, the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, resulted from the Senate Judiciary Committee at the time, which is overseen by Biden. At its core, the bill was an attempt to wrangle a huge issue in America at that point, violent crime, which had been rising since the 1960s. The rise in crime was partly accredited to the crack cocaine epidemic. The law imposed tougher prison sentences at the federal level and encouraged states to do the same. It maintained funding to build more prisons, increased the funding for over 100,000 cops to be onboarded, and backed grant-based programs that encouraged police officers to carry out more drug-related arrests. Shifting focus to the 1986 crime bill, which did include mandatory minimums for drug offenses, it more specifically created a sentencing disparity between crack and powder cocaine. The law was written that someone would need to possess 100 times the amount of powder cocaine to be eligible for the same mandatory minimum sentence for crack cocaine. And crack cocaine was more commonly used in Black American communities, so this helped fuel racial disparities in mass incarceration, despite the drugs being similar in pharmacological makeup. That is mainly why Biden's role is controversial, because of the 1986 bill's hand on mass incarceration, but the law's disproportionate racial disparities. To wind this all down, I think that the American people were deprived of the opportunity to watch the two candidates face off on policy, but I am a heavy critic of the first presidential debate of 2020. So I was pleased to see that we could hear the policies of both Biden and Trump through their separate town halls. But I want to ask you, if you were flipping channels between ABC, NBC, and maybe a little bit of HGTV to watch Flip or Flop, what did you think? Were you off-put by any of the information the candidates provided? Do you feel as though there should have been a virtual debate conducted? Needless to say, the town halls had a lot of information, and not all of it I can cover. So I strongly encourage you, as we are just inches away from Election Day, to watch the town halls in their entirety. Pay attention to the policy and vote on it. Do not let your voice shake during this election season. But until next week, thank you for watching this week's episode of Inside Ambition. Remember to be kind in all that you do and to have conviction in all that you believe in. Bye for now.